Have any of you ever heard of a movie called Plan 9 from Outer Space?
No?
No.
Not at all.
Never.
What's it about?
It is about the resurrection of the dead.
Everyone has a dream, a goal, a burning desire so great it doesn't matter what comes up in your way. What is the result when somebody has great passion for something they might not be good at? This is Ed Wood. Edward Davis Wood Jr. was born on October 10th, 1924. His father was a custodian at the U.S. Postal Service. It's been known that Ed's mother wanted a daughter and would literally dress him up in girls' clothing, according to Ed's wife, Kathleen O'Hara. In his early years as a child, Eddie always had an interest in performing arts and loved to read pulp fiction magazines, as well as comics. Movies were his ultimate calling. He often skipped school to go see feature films and would savage stills from the previous showing or posters that would be thrown away from the theater staff. In 1936, he received a Kodak Cine Special for his 12th birthday. He wasn't too sure what he wanted to do with his life, so he enlisted in the army. He claimed that he was in the battlefield and even had his teeth knocked out by one Japanese soldier with the end of his rifle. But it's been reported that he cleared bodies in the aftermath of the Battle of Tahara and mostly was in a desk doing clerical work during his time serving, though he did manage to get footage of the Hindenburg as it flew over the Hudson River on the way to its date with disaster.
Hi, get out of the way, please. It's burning, bursting into flames, and it's falling on the morning baths and all the folks between the citizens.
According to Wood's second wife, Kathy O'Hara, Wood's mother, Lillian, would dress him in girls' clothing when he was a child. She had always wanted a daughter. Perhaps it was the point of his adolescence where he would become a cross-dresser. McCarthy said in an interview for a 1999 installment of the E-Series Mysteries and Scandals. She said, "I'd find my nightgown on the bed when I got home from work and said, I didn't wear that last night. But it never dawned on me that he might be wearing these things." Ed even had a second persona named Shirley, embracing his transvestism.
I thought I could stop wearing these things. I tried, honestly, I tried. I haven't had a stitch of them on for nearly 2 weeks until tonight. Then I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to put them on or go out of my mind.
Nature makes mistakes. It's proven every day. This person is a transvestite, a man who is more comfortable wearing girls' clothes. The term transvestite is the name given by medical science to those persons who wear the clothing of the opposite sex. Many a transvestite actually wishes to be the opposite sex.
After being discharged, Ed moved to Hollywood to get his dream on the tracks. He made a living by selling awful scripts, some stunt work for Vincent Price films, and directing failed television pilots. In 1952, he landed his first gig as a director for an autobiographical film about a crossdresser, and originally was supposed to be an exploitation film about the Christine Jorgensen sex change operation, which was a big news at the time. It was his first time working with any producer, and that man was George Wissis, I think. I think that's how you pronounce it. I feel like this was a moment for Ed to find some sort of acceptance in his transition, especially at the time where just being a homosexual could just makes you seem like you're the devil. He even wore women's undergarments underneath his uniform during combat and was more afraid of being caught than killed in the battle. Around this time, he met the famous vampire who played Dracula, Bela Lugosi. He was a huge fan of Lugosi's work, and it was like a dream come true for him. Ed looked up to the actor and as an opportunity to help the Dracula star. Ed directed a total of 3 films with Lugosi: Glenn or Glenda, 1955's Bride of the Monster, and 1959's Plan 9 from Outer Space. Bride of the Monster was about a scientist that creates a superhuman, kind of like the story of the Frankenstein monster.
It's alive! In the name of God!
Ed Wood began shooting on October 1954, a tiny soundstage in Los Angeles called Ted Allen Studios. Production shut down 3 days later when he ran out of money. This was also Bela Lugosi's last speaking film, but it wasn't his last. Before his death on August 16, 1956, he makes an appearance in Plan 9 from Outer Space. The test footage used was from another film in which it was unfinished called The Ghoul on the Moon. The cane owned by Lugosi was later auctioned for a total of $10,000. This film was scrapped because when Ed went to go retrieve the film, it was ruined. Ed's filmmaking incorporated stock footage since he was in a tight budget. Ed blends in stock footage of an octopus with another being the prop they used in the film, which was another film called Wake of the Red Witch. Plan 9 from Outer Space is Ed Wood's best and most famous work. It had a budget of $60,000, which was funded by the Baptist Church, and even some of the members were baptized.
Do you reject Satan and all his evils? Sure. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
With the absence of Bela Lugosi, Ed Wood turned to a chiropractor named Tom Masson as a backup and had him hunch over a bit since he was taller than Lugosi and kept his face covered at all times, using the cape which I believe was lent by Lugosi himself. Ed was hoping that audiences would suspend their disbelief with continuity. There's a scene where one of those actors who's waving a gun to himself and other peers.
Like there's this one guy in a trench coat who's just pointing the gun carelessly around at everybody as he's talking.
He's
scratching his head. And,
He's like, darn
you
it!
know, and proof.
The actor did this purposefully to see if Ed would catch it. He didn't. The film, you can point out some production errors such as shadow of a boom mic, actors reading from title cards.
And he's clearly reading from a cue card. His eyes are actually moving from left to right. It's the most apparent teleprompter / cue card I've ever seen in a feature film.
Far later in his career, he began to write pulp crime, horror, and some pornographic films, as well as magazines, which received better reviews than his films. Creswell was primarily a narrator for Wood's films, and one where he starred in was one called Night of the Ghouls, a sequel to Bride of the Monster and Plan 9 from Outer Space. Wade Williams acquired the rights of Plan 9 from Outer Space, and Ed's former wife, Kathy, told him about a film that was never released because Ed couldn't afford the lab fee for the film reels and was on shelf for 25 years. A book came out called The Golden Turkey Awards in 1980, written by Harry Midvid and Michael Midvid. It's about looking back on some of the most ridiculous movies and cinema performances in the history of Hollywood cinema. It was in this book where Ed was recognized as some of the worst directors of all time, followed by the worst movie of all time, Plan 9 from Outer Space. If it wasn't for this book, Ed Wood Jr. would have been long forgotten and only seen as a Hollywood hack. Ed Wood became an overnight success and received a cult following over the years. This was the first Tommy Wiseau. He made movies that were so bad that they're good. I consider him to be an alter because, like one of the greats, he is remembered, struggled, and was hungry to put something out there like any other starving artist. The man kept going no matter what, even if there was nowhere to go. He found his way. People now embrace his craft and respect it for what it is, including callbacks.
Hello, friends.
Greetings, my friend.
I think if Ed got proper education and had a great writer as a mentor, he could possibly create something of higher quality.